Hello and welcome to Frozen Synapse 2 Developer Diary number 23. I'm Ian Hardingham, designer and lead programmer on Frozen Synapse 2, and today we are going to have a look at the new city tutorial, talk a bit about the upcoming closed beta, and answer your questions in the mailbag. So let's go! So as we're getting ready for real human beings to play this game, I had to put in something resembling a tutorial that would work on the city level. Tutorials are incredibly annoying to make, especially for a game that's as complicated as Frozen Synapse 2. In general, strategy and tactical games have really interminable tutorials that are really hard to get through, and you just kind of have to get through them to enjoy the game. I've done a lot of things with Frozen Synapse 2 to make it much more accessible. As you're going to see, this tutorial is not very long, and while there are very big and complex and deep systems, the action token system, which is what happens on the bottom left here, kind of guides you by the hand through the game if you just want to play it in a very straightforward way, and allows you to learn about stuff organically, which I think is the best kind of thing. But anyway, last week I put in the first version of our hopefully final tutorial. Paul hasn't played it yet, so when he does, he's going to tell me to change absolutely everything. I can't wait for that. And we haven't done the in-mission tutorial yet, because the vast majority of closed beta testers, if not all of them, are fully seasoned Frozen Synapse 1 pros. So they're not going to need to be taught how to duck and stand and continue on sight. But anyway, I'm going to take you very quickly through this tutorial, and you guys can give me any feedback on anything you see. So when you start a new city game in single player, you get a little action token down here asking if you want to run the tutorial. It's a good point to say none of this text is final. Paul will be rewriting absolutely everything. It's all very functional. So the tutorial comes up in a box up here. It's too big at the moment, ignore that. The first thing it has to tell you is how to move the mouse around, which you do by hooking the right mouse button. The second, that you have to use the mouse wheel to go in and out. I would say that you don't really need to teach that, but Paul says you do, so there you go. The first FS2 specific thing we teach is about the shortcut bar down here. The shortcut bar is a really important thing at all times while playing the game. It basically tries to present the massive data in the city in the most important way possible. It just shows you the things that you're going to need to be getting to very quickly. When you have contracts, they come down here, active contracts. When you have incursions, anything you really specifically need to get to really quickly all the time will be here. So we teach it really early, and we ask you to click on it, because if you don't make someone interact with something, they will just ignore the tutorial bit. Now we teach about the selected city object information window. This is our HQ, and as you can see, it's got quite a lot of money in it. It's got a building ownership certificate in it, which is part of a new territory system that I'm hoping to put in next week. It's something that the AI has been needing to have for a while, and the game in general has been needing to have for a while. But I'll talk about that at another date, and it has my base defense squad in it, with me, the faction leader, and 2 assault rifles, and my strike team, with 2 assault rifles in it. So we click on next, and now we are going to bring up a different kind of window. We're going to bring up the conversation window to give a more direct download to the player about what they should be thinking. Now I've kept this short as well, but it tells you the really important high level stuff you need to know. Specifically that what you're generally doing in the game is trying to get AI shards, and you find them by going to the incursions that the mysterious artificial intelligence faction is sending into the city. That's just describing the most core basic way of playing the game and giving you the background you need. If you're a first time player of this game, you're going to wait for incursions and you're going to send your squads to them. And I also give you a quick notification that there are other factions who are going to be doing the same thing. As I've talked about in the past, the other competing factions are a really incredibly important part of Frozen Synapse 2. I would say they're one of the main things that differentiates it from most other games that are anything like this, that you have at all times other AI factions trying to do exactly the same thing as you, and they have exactly the same palette of options as you. Again, that kind of moves it more into the kind of Alpha Centauri space than the XCOM space in this kind of thing. Anyway, so we listen to him talking, and he tells you that you should just be waiting for the next art int, and you should press play, etc., and that's fine. So now we teach the player about time controls, or at least very basically tells the player to press play until something happens. And it won't take very long. Something has happened. We've had the first artificial intelligence incursion. Now, as I've said before, this very first one is actually sort of personal to you as a player, and is kind of, sort of part of the tutorial process, even if you're not playing with the tutorial on. So this is the only incursion in the game that the other AI factions do not go after. So we are telling you about the action token system here. It's telling the player that he needs to pay close attention to these, and telling you that you can click on a Z button on most action tokens to take the camera to where it's about, that action token, and then just taking us through the process of sending a strike team to the incursion. Once your strike team gets somewhere, you click on Give Orders. Now, this is the first, this is a little bit of an unusual thing. We're not going to force you to play the in-mission tutorial if you don't want to. If you are a seasoned Frozen Synapse 1 professional, you're not, again, going to want to be taught how to duck. So, you will be choosing between, I'm a Frozen Synapse newcomer and I am an experienced Frozen Synapse player from this. Now, we don't have the tutorial mission in yet, so we're going to go with this. And if you choose not to have... Oh, that hasn't worked quite correctly. So normally you would have a normal mission there that takes place as any other mission does, just completely standard. If you click on you want the basic tutorial, it will actually give you a fully canned mission. I know this is all really boring details, but these things are really important. Trying to work out how to teach people this game is really difficult. Mostly everything that you learn is in the setting of an actual thing that might happen in any normal part of the game. That's not really true of the in-mission tutorial, which we just want to make as finely honed as possible, and also maybe a little bit of excitement. So anyway, we have... we're just going to keep going. There's not too much of this tutorial left. I've probably alienated absolutely everyone. So now we're telling people to select RHQ, and we teach about the Interact button, which gives you all of the options that can be done at a location or on a squad. And this is actually quite exciting, this button. It gives you a lot of interesting options in different parts of the game that you're not necessarily expecting. But for now, we'll send our strike team back to base. This is probably the most boring video that I've ever done. I apologise. Oh, it's interesting. That's a bug. That line is not supposed to be pointing at the top left. What it's telling us to do is that we should install the standard bond here and install the art int shard here. And I just wanted to show you guys, I can't actually click on that, the interact button, because we're in tutorial mode, so you can only click on the buttons that are being allowed. But what I will say is that while we bring up these action tokens to install the shard and etc, etc, all of these are fully sort of dynamic gameplay options, and if you click on interact, those will be options given to you. So the game is not railroading you in any way, it's just coming up as action tokens, the kind of things that you might sort of definitely want to do. Okay, well, it looks like something has broken in the tutorial I'm going to need to fix. So that's probably going to be the end of this bit of the thing. I'm just going to load up another part of the game so I can show you the rest of it. Okay, and we're back. I did some hacking to get past that particular bug. We have another conversation talking about artifacts again, and as you can see, we're going to fill in some more intermediate chat about how you're playing the game and what's been going on at that point. As we have just installed our first artifact, we have sort of unlocked a new mercenary that we might be able to sign. So it's asking us to click on the Mercenary Market button. Now, at any point right from the beginning, you can sign a knife guy, an assault rifle guy, a pistol guy, or an SMG. All those people who get upset about the use of the word Uzi in a game, please close your eyes. It should say SMG there. And we've just unlocked the sniper, as we have got one of the artifacts. Again, the artifacts in this game are sort of the central progression. You don't have to get any. You can play the game doing something else completely. And there are other ways of getting the exotic mercenaries. But the kind of the basic progression in the game is to get artifacts, get more money, get more power, unlock new mercenaries. So I'm going to examine the sniper that doesn't have any of his text in still. We're going to assign him, put him on our strike team, and click on OK. Ooh. Now, the final thing it basically asks you to do is call up one of the other factions. Again, trying to get all the features of this game across to people really quickly, teach them the kind of things they can do without overwhelming them is quite hard. So now I brought up the factions screen. It says call any faction. I'm going to call up Et Par of Safeguard. And I'm going to talk to him very quickly. He's talked about his background, and he says, do we want to sign a treaty of mutual interests? Now, if I do this, he'll like me a bit more, and it will unlock the first level of his contract. Now he's talking to me about something to do with something else. I don't know what that is just yet. Saying goodbye to me, that's very nice. Now we look at the contract screen, and as you can see, because I've made friends with Epar, I have his very low level contract, which, because he's a bit of a militaristic guy, just about attacking people. He wants me to attack Diamond Brothers, and he wants me to attack Blue Sunlight, which is a bit harsh. So basically, that is pretty much the end of the tutorial. I hope that was somewhat enlightening. That, for those of you who will be playing the closed beta in the first place, you'll be playing through that, and I'm sure breaking it, and you can tell me how that works out for you. Again, teaching this game is pretty difficult, but I'm relatively happy that that's fairly short, fairly entertaining, and does actually guide you through the process of actually playing the game, rather than sandboxing you somewhere really boring. So, with that, we will move away from the tutorial and discuss the beta a little bit. Now, it's very important to me that we don't make these videos centric to the people who have the beta or anything, so please don't stop watching if you have not signed up for the beta, and also don't send me any more requests for now. We've got about 110 people, and that's enough for the first stage. I just wanted to say that I plan on starting the beta in about a week, 2 weeks, Monday, April the 3rd or something. That's when I plan on starting it. That should be relatively rock solid. It might be the Tuesday. You'll get the game, and in the first week, everything is going to break on the city level, and I'm going to have a huge flurry of completely crucial bugs to fix that kill your games and probably make you quite angry. But after the first week, because I've got to a pretty good stage with bugs, I kind of expect it to be a bit more stable, something you can actually play, hopefully sort of 5 or 6 hours without everything breaking. And also, as importantly, all of the multiplayer stuff is in there, not just Multiplayer City, but just basic FS2 multiplayer. I'm going to need your guys' help balancing the units, balancing the focus aim ability, and giving me lots and lots of feedback. So this is really crazy time in Frozen Synapse 2's development. It's the first time that really FS1 fans are getting to play the game and give me feedback, and I'm completely and utterly terrified. There will be more video content about how to give bugs, and I'll certainly be talking about a lot of the things that are happening from the closed beta as it keeps going on. So thank you of everyone who signed up, and I expect there'll be another round of sign-ups in a few weeks. Okay, it's the mailbag. Now, first up, I got a lot of comments about the saving structure that I talked about 2 weeks ago. And I just want to clarify that after having thought about it to some quite lengthy extent, I'm going to keep going with the fact that there'll be no reloading within missions. But I think that there will be ways of, there'll be sort of possibly regular automated saving of the city-state, that you'll be able to go backwards if something really bad happens, and there'll definitely be an Iron Man mode for people who don't want that. So I just wanted to clear that up. Also wanted to apologise for no developer video last week. It was Robin's wedding last Friday, and the entire week I actually had off, as did with Robin. So I had some much needed rest. So that's why we didn't have a developer video last week. I'm going to keep trying to get weekly updates beyond that. Okay, let's get to some specific questions. Oh, good. I love it when YouTube works so perfectly. HWGH is worried about the units that don't have any specific offensive capability, like the smoke grenade launcher. And what happens when it's kind of a smoke grenade versus a smoke grenade, which is pretty bad. Yeah, I still haven't really worked out exactly how to deal with that. On the city level, you are able to kind of pull your guys out or commit suicide to leave a mission early. I still haven't really worked out how I'm going to handle that. That's not ideal, obviously. Yes. Now, Nathan Pierce asks, is there a way to set up all the text in game to be accessible so that the community can translate? Because, as I said, there's sort of too much text to do the translation professionally. It would cost an awful lot of money. So the honest answer to that is that the majority of text, well, all of the conversations-based text is in one place and would be easy to translate there. All of the user interface text is kind of laying around in bad locations, and I sort of need to do something relatively modern to get all that into one place. So I don't know how that's going to be on launch, actually. Sen Blackwell asks, will there be any form of New Game Plus mode option where a player could keep all their recruited elite mercenaries, etc., but begin a new game? I think that's a really, really interesting idea. I'm not entirely sure how that would fit in with the unlocking of Mercenaries, but I'm going to think about that. That was sort of off my radar as a concept, but I'm going to think about that. Okay, I've resized some windows so that YouTube actually lets me see the full extent of comments, which is good. Now, Dundriel has a lot of interesting things to say. The first thing he asks is whether the log is still available. It is. Oh, what am I doing? All right. Here is the log. It's in its own window now. It actually gives you even more information. It actually gives you when any individual unit dies in the city. I still don't really know what to do with this aesthetically. I don't know what kind of data I want in there. I just kind of like having it all in there for now. So I'm just going to leave it like that and see what you guys say in the beta. Dundriel also says that he thinks it's extremely important for pistols and Uzis not to be completely inferior to other units. So I basically agree with that in multiplayer, but I don't actually agree with that in single player. You have to have, certainly in a human versus AI setting, I think it's important to have some units that are just sort of overpowered and underpowered. I just think it adds to the game. So I kind of disagree with that, but please give me your feedback on that. And he asks the best question of the week, which is that if we fixed the units running while you drag them, this must be unfixed immediately. So thank you for that. Admiral Jameson asks, will it have the old FS1 Dark Extermination multiplayer mode? Yes, FS2 has all of the existing Synapse 1 multiplayer modes. It also has a whole bunch of new stuff based around one turns. Look up, I think it was Developer Diary number 1 for the full information on that. And it may have one new multi-turn multiplayer mode. Obviously, it's got a lot of new units and old units. You can always choose to play with any kind of setup that you like. Yeah, there may be a new multiplayer mode. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to turn out. And finally, he asks if he'll be able to name his mercenaries like in XCOM. Yes, you will. Definitely. Slide Drum asks, will we be able to make videos or stream the closed beta? I'm going to ask you guys not to do public videos of the closed beta to start with, just because the first few weeks really are about like getting bugs out of the way and getting really important feedback out of the way. That will not be true forever though. He asks if there's any new music that's not on SoundCloud. I believe that there's a whole load of music that's not on SoundCloud. I don't know what Paul's put in, but I think we've got at least 10 tracks in the main soundtrack that is in the game already, and I think fully mastered. And finally, Kendrick says, are you planning on making mercenaries more individual with names and backgrounds, or will you keep them more nameless and asset-like? So there are the exotic mercenaries who have a perk or two each. Perks like having radar to see through walls, or having 360-degree vision, having like shorter reload times or bigger explosion effects, that kind of thing. These guys will all have names and full backgrounds. For the basic units, like just a machine gunner or something, I'm not sure yet if we're going to have like 20 different sort of individually named and backgrounded mercenaries for this, or we're just going to keep them very nameless for those ones. I haven't worked that out yet. Depends a bit on how much time we have. So yes, thank you very much for listening. Please leave your feedback as always. I'm super excited about where FS2 is right now, and things are going to start moving quickly. So thank you again, and goodbye.